NFL and NBA, sports, diversity and inclusion. Even though the majority looks like us, the ownership does not. Um, what I know part of that is probably maybe, I don't know, maybe someone can't afford to buy a team. I don't know, but what can you explain to me, how can that stop, or how can we close the gap on that?
Yeah, I think like for me, what's interesting is, so when we look at the disparity, yes, the players, again, remember I told you, it's all good to be at that lower level and
Mm-hmm.
owners. So people are like, well, we don't have that many Black owners. Well, how many Black managers do we have? How many, like, you know what I'm saying? When we start really breaking down the numbers, what we'll see is, yes, we'll let you play the game, but we will not let you have an equity stake in the process. So when we start talking about equity, which is, my big thing, my t-shirt, equity over everything, I really believe in that. What we're looking at is like, how do we take ownership in the process? How do we share resources, money, and power? And so when I come to an organization, and if at the lowest level they have people of color or other marginalized communities or other non-majority communities, they're typically happy with that because they have no intention of truly diversifying. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The NFL and the NBA, yeah, you player, you make a lot of money, but be the manager, be the coach, be the owner, right? Who does the marketing? Who gets to do, like, right? When you start really looking at what does it take to put a football game together and what are
Yeah.
all positions, then they become a very small number in the
Yeah.
big.
Are you still there?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay. I thought it cut off. Yeah, you're right. Okay. And that's, and I pretty much, but I do believe in the next few years we'll probably see our first Black owners.
Well,
I think some already on NBA teams, but maybe in the NFL.
and Jay-Z had a team at one time too. So I think we will see more owners. I think what we need to do though is not just look at the NFL for more owners. Because to be an owner means you have to have a certain amount of money and a certain amount of, what we should be looking at the NFL for is like, let's do a deep dive in your whole organizational structure. How many Black referees are there? Like, you know what I'm saying? You feel me? Like,
Mm-hmm.
we don't want to infiltrate on this level and this level. We want to be throughout because that's where the cultural shift happens, right? So how many HR people are of color and can advocate for other people of color that are in that organization? So we really need to do a deep dive. So I really recommend, when companies aren't really sure how they're doing with diversity, equity, and inclusivity, reach out. Let's do an equity advocate, an equity audit, and let's see where your holes are and let's plug them.
Yeah, I heard that. That's what y'all need to do. Can you tell me this? How does incorporating diversity and inclusion benefit a company?
So let's just go back and look at diversity for a second. So diversity is, as Angela Davis put it, I stick to her definition because I really like it. I have a fish tank, and in my fish tank, I have goldfish. The water's good for them. The food I have is good for them. They like how I've laid out the rocks. They're chill. So they're all the same. Then I put in a Japanese fighting fish. So now that Japanese fighting fish is in this goldfish water, eating this goldfish food. The temperature is not good for him, but he has to swim anyway. That's diversity. I will allow you into my program if you can hack it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have inclusivity. Once I get there, will you begin to level out that water in that aquarium so that we're all comfortable? So let me tell you, I can tell you all Black people have experienced this. You work at a job and the music that comes on over the overhead, and you like, can I get one Black song? Can I get one hip hop song? one R&B song. They ain't thought about the fact that you work there and you do an 8-hour shifts and you want to hear some music too. Have not even thought about you. So it's those gentle ways that drive us crazy in our workflow where we're not necessarily being included. So with inclusivity, you're thinking about, how do I make this person feel good about being here, feel valued, have a sense of belonging? And when they give feedback, they feel like I care. And they're, even if when we're brainstorming, their idea doesn't make it all the way to the top, they know the value of putting their idea in because they know they're being heard and valued and respected. And so that's that inclusivity. So if, when you have diversity without inclusivity, you get a high turnover. You may get, Black and brown people to apply. You may get LGBTQ people to apply, but then when they get there, you treat them like crap because you ain't thought just the application process, right? So then that's inclusivity. So then when you look at equity, what you're looking at is, how do I now that I have all of these people at the table, how do I share power and resources with them? Right. And so we can always tell when a marketing company may be diverse but not inclusive. We get stupid ads that go viral and we clown them. That's not, you can look at that and say, okay, if you have Black people on your team, you're not listening.
Right. You're right. Yeah. So, it's like, who okayed this?
Right.
Yeah.
Make it real world, because like I said, we go to a lot of these classes. We know what these words mean, but what does it look like in our day-to-day life? In our day-to-day life, it looks like a bad Dove commercial. In our day-to-day life, it looks like a bad H&M ad, right? So, that is what it looks like when you don't have a diverse and inclusive marketing team.
Okay. So, switching gears a little bit, you have well, we talked about the partner organization, equity over everything, but this is about, I read about that one is the closing the gaps with entrepreneurship and homeownership and low resource communities. Can you elaborate a bit more on that?
Right. So Aisha Adams Media is my company, and my team and I, I hit a hard place in my business. I'd applied for this program. I didn't get in. And when I just knew I was going to get in, I was like, I'm in, it's great. And it was like a scaling program where you scale your business, and I didn't get in. So when I went to my mentor, he was like, oh, don't worry about them. We'll scale ourselves. And so over the last 2 years, we've really scaled the company. And so equity over everything is my give back. It is really about how my team shows up in community and says, thank you for being here. We love you. We see you. And that we want to help equal the playing field in our industry. So I'm a business owner. My contract with the university is an entrepreneurial endeavor, where I have an equity stake in the funding that comes through that program. And so how do I teach other people how to level up? I'm doing very well for myself. I get to work from home. I get to be in all the fancy magazines and the newspapers, and I do all the talks. How can I help other people reach their greatness? What can I do? How do I serve? So equity over everything is our service leg. It is how we serve our community. And thanks for being influencers. I think a lot of people want to be an influencer. I'm considered an influencer. And what I learned about influence is, it's not really about what I ate today. It's not really about how cute my lashes are or how cute my hair is. It's really about, how do I serve my community and how do I help other people move to where they're going? So it was just a natural thing for us to start equity over everything. And so what we do is that entrepreneur accelerator that I talked to you about earlier. Also host the folding chair session for the Lenoir-Rhyne Equity and Diversity Institute, where I produce a talk show. It's an LGBTQ and Black talk show. And so we actually interview community members and share community news. So we're just like, if you went to UAB, you might have heard like Good Morning Alabama. It's like our version of Good Morning Alabama, but it's LGBTQ and Black centered.
Okay.
As voice centered. So we might have Puerto Rican people come in and talk about whatever they have going on in their community. So it's way to level the playing field in media and to show up.
Okay. Okay. Where and is a link to that is also will that also be on your
It's all on the Aisha Adams Media.com page, but it's called the AVL View or the Asheville View. If you go to Facebook, it's there, or the website. And we're doing really cool stories. So I'll tell you about two real cool stories real quick. So the first one that I'm super proud of is that we had a young man who experienced police brutality. And so for 2 years, like I watched, they talked about him in the Washington Post. They talked about him in USA Today because when the police brutality leaked, it was leaked through a secret source and it went national. This like when everybody found out about the brutality. So this video went national and people talked about it for 2 years. And when I started my talk show, I went and found him and I said, hey, I really need for the world to hear your side of the story. So we actually did a 3-part series on what happened to him. He got $650,000 from the city of Asheville for what happened to him. And so it's one of those police brutality stories that, you know, it really hits home here, but I think it should be more prevalent in our community nationwide to see that we hear a lot about the people who die, but the Black, like his life matters and he survived.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's some things that are there that we need to be unpacking. So that's a really great story. And then one of our hosts, Tina, who's an amazing woman, amazing trans woman, shared with us her story. This was before she became a host of transitioning from Tom to Tina, and talked about what it was like going to work, talked about what it was like maintaining her marriage to a woman. So, and what it was like to have 5 kids to raise. So, for me, you know, we hear a lot of LGBTQ stories, and oftentimes we hear a lot of like struggle stories, sad stories.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful love story. And it's one that I think that inspires our LGBTQ community to know that there's true love out there, that there is family out there, that there is peace after transition and peace during transition. We haven't seen a lot of that, especially reflected in our own community. So for me, having Tina on the show has been a blessing in a lot of ways, but that's another one of my favorite shows where she definitely details out like what that process was like for her.